And good evening, and welcome to Kingsport 1851, Episode 3, Part 2, or Episode 7, depends how you want to number them. I'm Kat. I'm your mistress of ceremonies for tonight. I'm joined by a truncated but still wonderful cast. So why don't we start off with Bethany, who is playing Joe, our stowaway.
Yep. Hi, I'm Bethany. I'm playing Joe the stowaway, who isn't really a stowaway anymore. He has a real job and everything. He's not necessarily good at it, but he's legally on the ship now. Also, he's in love with Gerald's character, and I have done absolutely nothing about that. So maybe something will happen with that today. I don't know.
Well, we can go for it because it's Daryl. So. Speaking of Daryl, Daryl is playing Forbes Greenwood, our scholar and creature.
Yes, hi, I'm Daryl. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Forbes Greenwood, who is also a he, him, and he's also the scholar and the creature. Last time, Forbes really tried to put all that scholarly work to good use and kept coming up on some real bad dice rolls, so he wasn't very useful. In fact, there's a number of times where his occult knowledge may or may not have made things worse. We'll just see how that goes. He is very quickly determining, though, that things are not as great as they could be, and he is taking steps to try to rectify that in the most Greenwood of ways.
The most Greenwood ways? Have we reached peak Greenwood yet?
Not yet. We still got some ways to go.
That's what I figured. Kingsport 2076, peak Greenwood. And finally, last but most definitely not least, Scott, who is playing James Fife, the old sea dog, the ship's first mate, and the confidant.
Yes, I'm Scott, he, him. I'm playing James Fife, he, him, old Scottish sea dog. Recently promoted to first mate. Things have been going a little stranger on this voyage than usual. Strange things always happen at the sea, but starting to worry about my captain, making sure that she's safe, and also worrying about the crew, noticing that the captain has been beset upon by something.
Well, there's many things that could be besetting him, besetting the captain. Yeah, and James too. I mean, you're just beset by a whole sea of troubles.
Yeah.
Oh, but you should have known better than to sign on board for a metaphysical journey into the heart of the American nightmare. I backed the Great American Novel. I don't know if Metaphysical Journey into the Heart of the American Nightmare is one of the play sets, but it really should be, because I can think of like 3 or 4 of those.
You should write a supplement if it isn't.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to write something for Comrades. I said I would do that. So cool. When last we left off, the captain had tried to flee the company of the Charity, not to get very far, and now you've been joined by the Jezebel. And as per the wishes of our missing compatriot Serafina tonight, the captain has fallen into a swoon, and awakes only from time to time to rave somewhat incomprehensibly, and then fall back into a swoon. So James, when did you discover this?
So Captain did not reach the deck at her normal hour. I investigated with the aid of, let's see, I think I would have taken Joe, and we found that she seemed to be beset upon by dreams, and seemed to be both awake and asleep at the same time. And so we've been doing what we can to keep it quiet. We've told only a small number of people, and I've been doing what I can to just tell the crew that the captain is taken ill, just a little bug, and we'll be okay shortly.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everything is going to be fine. It's just fine.
What could go wrong?
Pretty much every single thing. Cool. So Joe, what? How does that leave you?
That leaves me wondering if the same thing is wrong with our captain as the charity's captain, who is also apparently delirious and sick and maybe just insane. I don't know.
Cool. Forbes, you're a metaphysician. What's your diagnosis?
Well, after studying the captain, I did find myself of the opinion that I believe she is come upon by the same thing that has worked its magic on the captain of the charity. I've not attempted to converse with it in ways that I know how, because honestly, that didn't work out so great for me the last couple of times.
I mean, this is fair. This is very fair. Cool.
Should have just shot the messenger after all.
Shooting the messenger, always a good plan. Cool. So where shall we begin? Cool. Yeah, so yes. The obvious place to begin is James, while you're on the deck trying to manage the watch, one of the lookouts starts to scream, "There she blows."
So I'll call the harpooners and get the ships ready. Start heading towards the spotted whales.
Excellent. So the Charity, which used to be a crack ship, is having some difficulty lowering boats because, they're down a first mate and the captain. But the Jezebel is springing to action, and all four of their boats are quickly lowered and are trying to take an angle on your own boats.
Fair enough. I think we can outrow them.
Oh, can you? So what's your plan for that?
Sure, with me and Forbes, we can definitely outrow.
Oh yeah,
experienced sailors.
We definitely have Forbes on some oars.
Forbes doesn't appreciate the jokes.
I'm going to let's see. I'm actually just going to bark encouragement at the men and the women who are rowing on my boat, and point out that we've not been bested yet this voyage, and we're not about to be second to a kill.
Okay, that I don't think that's manipulate. It could be. Do you think you're using more charisma, or are you just trying to act like the sea dog that you are?
I think it's more acting under pressure. I think I'm just being myself and being more encouraging than intimidating.
That sounds about right. So why don't we see how that goes?
Balance +2. All right. 9.
9. Oh, cool. I get to make a worse outcome, hard bargain, or an ugly choice. Okay. You'll be able to close in on one of the whales, but only if Only if you maneuver your boat in such a way that it's quite obvious that you're cutting off the other boat and attempting to swamp it.
No, I'll let them get there first. I think given this situation with the captain and needing to maintain good morale on the ship, I don't need to get into a fight with another harpooner. So I'm gonna let them get there first.
This is fair. Cool. So the other boat is in fact Captain Malachi Dixon of the Jezebel and his hulking first boat steerer. And lickety split, they fasten onto a large whale near them, and are soon being towed away. However, you are able to pick up another whale. It's not as nearly as large as that one, but Elizabeth stands up and throws and makes a good pitch to it, and now you are fastened on it. Cool. So why don't we give Joe a chance to shine? Can we have him hold a act under pressure roll from you, I think?
Sure thing. Bounce. Okay. Um, 8.
Okie dokie. Cool. Okay. So, you are manning your oar and trying hard not to get snagged in the line. When you get snagged in the line,
Yep.
So it's your choice. You can either cut the line, or you're gonna get pulled overboard.
Oh man. I mean, I spend so much time overboard anyway, but usually it's helping people. Wait, okay. Is this our line or their line?
It's your line.
Yeah, I'll cut it.
Okay. So, Mr. Fife, you're tearing after this whale when all of a sudden you hear a gasp behind you. The line goes taut and then immediately slack as the whale pulls away from your boat.
What happened to that line?
Yeah, sorry, I got caught on it. Probably should have ducked faster, or I don't. Yeah.
Well, let's get this ship around and get another harpoon in her.
Yes, sir. I start rowing very fast and keeping my head down.
Forbes, pick up the rowing.
As I've said before, I'm trying, and I'm not good at this. Leave me alone.
Surely there must be some bird who can teach you.
I do not appreciate your levity, sir.
A Scotsman never jokes when a whale's on the line.
And I'm trying my best to not just to do the thing, but also to keep my cool and not rip your arm off or something.
So hopefully we can get another bead on the whale.
So at this point, the pod has all dived. They will come back up in the same place in 20 minutes. You can see Malachi's boat just drifting near you, and he looks up at you. He's like, "Having trouble, Mr. Fife?"
No. It was all planned that way. So, uh, our holds are full anyway. What were we going to do with yet another whale?
Well, presumably make even more profit. 'Tis the Yankee way, isn't it?
'Tis true. And I definitely like my profit.
So they're all waiting, but yeah. Dixon sits back down at the tiller. And you can hear them chanting, you think, or singing in a very low and slow way. But with the wind and the waves, it's hard to catch exactly what they're doing, but it sure looks awful like they're doing some kind of ritual.
A ritual, you say?
Why, yes.
Well, this seems like a perfect time for Forbes to attempt to sense what's beyond.
That usually works out so well for you.
I know. We're gonna see how the streak goes. So that's with my balance. 8.
You receive fragments or mysteries. So this is from the, you recognize some of this from the salt side of the family. It's not a deep one thing they're doing, but they're doing something that a deep one would feel completely comfortable doing. They're making some kind of prayer to the depths, but you don't know to what or what exactly they intend to do. Just it's definitely not just some Presbyterian hymn or something.
I think I kind of whisper to Mr. Fife under my breath, and I say, I do so love when they attempt to beseech something that I've never heard of and have no idea what they're asking for.
Yes, I'm actually a bit frightened by the sounds I hear coming. And if you say you've not heard anything, well, if you've never heard of it, mayhap they're using the darker powers to succeed and beat us.
Please tell me something. I'm not a seafaring man myself, but is everything always so wrapped up in ancient dark mysteries, or is this just a special cruise that I happen to have found myself on? There's a lot going on.
I've been on, say, I would guess 20, 25 voyages. About a fifth of them, it was this weird.
That is a certainly higher estimation than I would have expected, and also higher than I wanted you to say.
The sea is truly the strangest place.
Well, I suppose that we'll just have to make the best of it, won't we?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So do they stop chanting or whatever, singing the song that they're doing, or just it's ongoing?
They stop, and there's a long, quiet pause, and then the whales suddenly surface.
And this was or earlier than normal than we would expect for this type of whale?
Maybe a little. What is interesting is that that big bull they're fast to is not nearly as aggressive at pulling away as you would have expected at this point. He's kind of slow, and they are coming right up. They range right up next to him for the kill. But meanwhile, the Charity has a couple of their boats out, but there is one last whale that you can go after.
We shall do it. I believe that Joe can redeem himself. He has it in him.
Gonna try.
I have full faith in you.
Well, that may or may not be justified. We'll find out. Cool. Yeah, why don't you give me the act under pressure here, James?
Eight.
Another 8. Fantastic. Okay. You row out again. Elizabeth makes fast again. She just kind of looks at everybody. She looks at Joe after as she's coming back in the boat because she lost a harpoon already now. And you range up right next to it, and you're able to make the kill, James. But you're gonna take a point of harm.
I will take the point.
That is good.
Ouch.
Yeah. You just the waves were pretty rough as you battered him. But you return, you and your other 2 boats, back to the Tethys, and I have decided to finally detail one of the mates. So since it seems to be a little more important right now, this is Zadok Bailey. He's a young man. He only passed his master's certificate like a couple months ago, and now he's doing all the things that the third mate does, like go to lunch last and get up first because it's done strictly in rank order, and he's kind of a pugnacious little prick, basically. Good third mate material. So when you get back aboard, he jumps out of his boat once it's winched up, throws his hat down, stomps on it, and just says, "Mr. Fife, I don't know what's going on out there with the hunting today, but that was a darn sight peculiar."
What did you find the most peculiar?
We were twice fast to a whale, and twice it eluded us.
'Tis true. Did you hear the strange bleeding that came from the not the Chastity, right? Which one was it?
The Jezebel.
The Jezebel's crew?
I heard no such thing, but I'm not surprised if they were doing it.
I'd not heard such singing coming from human voices.
Have you not been to Wales, sir?
Well, they didn't sound like whales, I can tell you.
No, I meant... Never mind what I meant.
Well, we did get what we got, and just minor injuries for myself, but luckily the rest of the ship is safe.
Aye, but we got a cow barely weaned. There's 20 barrels, 30 at most in there?
Quite likely. 20 to 30 barrels is better than 0 barrels.
Perhaps, Mr. Fife, but things have been going quite amiss on this ship. I think I can speak that without any fear of contradiction, begging your pardon, Mr. Fife, sir.
What have you found amiss, other than all the weird that's happened?
Twice now the captain's been ill. We had the corpusants glowing upon the mastheads as we passed the Horn.
Yeah.
Where was that storm in the Horn? This is a peculiar voyage.
It's a most peculiar voyage.
I've been a whaler these 15 years. I was cabin boy on a Nantucket boat when I was but 12. I have never seen anything this unusual.
Nor have I, but I do know that you and I will be receiving quite a hefty share. While today's catch may not have been the best, we've had good luck since reaching these oceans. Good luck on the catch, maybe different luck otherwise.
Hey, maybe if we live.
I never say if we live. It seems foreboding.
All I know, Mr. Fife, is I have the feeling that perhaps we've picked up a Jonas or two on this ship. I mean, we've got a stowaway, and things got strange after he showed up, and now we've got this Forbes can barely pull an oar.
He cannot, but he does know. He does know a thing or two about the weird goings on. I think he shall prove to be of most help indeed. Also, he does seem to keep the birds happy.
Cool. With that, he shrugs and goes down to yell at the cooks to get dinner ready, and nobody knows what to do because normally you have to wait for the captain to bring everybody to dinner, but the captain's not well, so it's going to fall to you, Mr. Fife.
All right, so we will do dinner as normal, time for this shift, I guess. Not sure the workings of a ship really. It's been so long since I've read Moby Dick.
It's usually in the afternoon. That's the reason there are 2 watches called the dog watches. They're shorter. It allows you to stagger the watches every day and also make sure that people get to dinner. Cool. So, Joe and Forbes, what are you up to down below decks?
I think Forbes is probably just like going through his books, trying to figure out how to figure out if there is a way out of this situation that he finds himself embroiled in. And so he's probably like crammed on his berth and just like is reading and like also fuming because people just won't leave him alone about his rowing.
Very fair. And Joe?
Joe is wandering around the ship looking for more of those symbols, like making like I want an inventory of all of the weird hex symbols on this ship, and I don't actually know what any of them mean, but I want to know. I don't know. I want to know where they are so that I can ask Forbes about them later, pretty much.
Okay. That feels like you're either reading a situation or sensing what's beyond.
Okay.
I'm not sure which. It sounds
Yeah, it could be either.
Yeah, no. Are you just mostly doing this to inventory them?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't know a thing about them, so it's not like I can, I don't know, test them and find out what they do.
Okay, that sounds like sense what's beyond.
Okay. What is my beyond? I think my beyond is 0. Yeah. 7.
Cool. Cool. So you're going through the hex marks. A lot of them have been scratched out, and more disturbingly, some have been scratched out, and then in a sort of childish hand, there's been something scratched next to them. But as you're doing all this, you think you're diligently writing them down and searching for them. That black albatross lands on the railing next to you.
God damn it! I knew I should have shot it.
It just cocks its head at you.
What do you want?
Cool. It looks at you, cocks its head again, smirks, and then flies straight at your head.
Oh, good. Yeah. I will duck, I guess, and look for anything that I can use to defend myself against this angry albatross, which has a right to be angry, admittedly.
Fair. You know, it has all that bad publicity.
Albatross are big, so
Cool. Why don't you act under pressure?
Sure thing. Eight.
Eight. Okay, cool. So you kind of stumble back and you get your hands up and avoid harm, but an albatross has like a tremendous wingspan, and those things are coming in and buffeting you. And at this point, there's a circle of people starting to form around you, but nobody knows what to do. They don't know they don't know how to handle. It's an albatross, so it's good, but it's a weird looking albatross, so that's bad. But it's
Beating up somebody on this ship, so it's bad. Come on, somebody.
they're all weirded. They're weirded very much
Yeah.
the heck out. I feel like Forbes, you might be hearing this.
I hear the commotion, and I go
Tell
to
your
tell.
friend to go away.
Yeah, I storm it out to tell whoever's making such commotion to keep it down, and then I see what's going on, and I was like, oh. And then I like remember that feather that is in my pocket from last time, and I'm going to attempt to. And I know there's like a group of people who are there, but I'm going to attempt to try to talk to it the way I did the thing from last time, like see if it was like just a fluke or a dream or something like that. So that's with my beyond. And I don't try to say it in like bird or anything like that. I just yell it. It's like, what do you want? And it's a 5.
Let me think what we can do here. There's so many delightful things. Where do you keep that white feather?
It's in my breast pocket.
Okay. The bird dives on you. It's, the wing buffets are coming right and left. You don't know what to do, and it's scrabbling at your it scrabbles at your chest with its claw, with its beak, and then you see it flying away with the feather in its mouth.
Yeah, that's crestfallen. Like just like a sinks to my knees kind of thing, and it's just like, really? It's just not my day.
You should stop resisting your destiny.
I am a person, damn it.
You're an Evian American. You should be proud of it. Cool. All right. So, strangely enough, the night is calm, except for the fact that the captain wakes people up in the middle of the night with short, sharp screams from time to time. But for the most part, Neb is just kind of like taken up post and is just sitting at the foot of her bed, and kind of is the only person that can keep her calm right now.
Cool. Good job, Neb.
Yes, please go right ahead, Forbes.
Yeah, so I think that, after yet another one of these shrieks that just kind of like pierces the night, I kind of like go into the cabins or the captain's cabin, and I see Neb at the foot of the bed, and I say, may I speak with you, young sir?
Well, of course, Mr. Forbes.
And I say, and I kind of ease down, and I look at him and I say, Neb, I'm very curious how you seem to be so knowledgeable about the symbols and sigils that have been scratched upon this ship.
Oh, well, sir, there's a long tradition of conjure women in my family.
Oh, and do you view yourself as a conjurer too?
Oh, I wouldn't claim a title like that. It's just our Auntie Marie. She says that we have a lot of the art in our family.
Yes, my adoptive parents said the same thing about our family, and especially about my cousin. So I definitely see how that goes.
Your family, sir.
Yes, yes. I'm sure that the name Greenwood probably doesn't mean much of anything to you, but we have a bit of renown for certain workings.
Oh, Greenwood, huh?
Does that name mean something to you, Neb?
Not much to me, sir. But well, Auntie Marie, she makes a habit of knowing about the workings of other folks, and I think I've heard tale of Massachusetts, if I'm correct, sir. Yes.
Yes, yes. Somewhere about there, yes.
Well, I've heard a few tales about the witch trials, and so I think your people were involved in that. Yes.
Well, one of them certainly got away before it got too hot.
That's a clever thing. It's a clever thing. Auntie always says, witch hunts are always just bubbling under the surface.
I'm inclined to agree with your auntie.
She's a very smart woman, sir.
Sounds like it. But you still seem to have quite a bit of knowledge about what's going on here, so perhaps you could say, what would your Auntie Marie say about what's happening on this ship?
Well, it's not necessary for them that walk in the light to always keep good relations with the powers that live in the dark. But if you go walk in the dark, then you best have a mind for them. Do you know something the old sailors say, sir?
No, enlighten me.
It might be useful to you anyway. He sort of kind of grimaces. There's a saying among sailors that you should have one hand for yourself and one hand for the ship, by which they mean, sir, that when the ship is pitching and bucking, you must always have one hand fixed fast to something so that you don't fall or get torn away. And so 'tis best to form that habit even when the ship is not in a storm. I think it's much the same for walking in the dark, sir. You need to have one hand for yourself, but one hand for them.
That is a very insightful thing to say, Neb.
Well, thank you, sir. I didn't mean it.
Do you foresee a storm coming our way soon? Or perhaps a darkness falling?
Oh, I don't have the gift of that sort of sight, sir.
Well, alas, neither do I.
Well, perhaps you know folks what do, sir.
I know my cousin Phoebe. I unfortunately don't like talking to her all that much.
I was thinking about people that are closer by.
And I look down at the captain and I say, yes, I do think I know what you mean.
Cool. So, the next day, a boat rows by from the Jezebel, and the ship's second mate, Lazarus Hershey, stands up with a speaking horn. Tethys ahoy! Is the captain around?
The dog's barking. The captain is in her cabin. What can I do for you?
I'm just here on the invitation of Captain Dixon to invite her and to the Jezebel tonight. He intends to ask the captain of the charity to attend as well.
Captain Goodwin may not be able to attend tonight due to. I shall pass on the invitation. If she cannot make it, I will come with my appropriate crew. If that's okay with your captain.
You would be Mr. Fife, yes?
Aye.
Well, sir, I have heard of you before. I think you'd be acceptable on any ship, sir.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Well, I hope to see you at dinner.
And he nods, and they start pulling away for the charity. Yeah.
I think I lean. I think I was probably there, and I just kind of say, Mr. Fife, if they're also inviting the captain of the charity, I think they might run into a similar situation as the one we're in.
I think you are correct, and I have some apprehension about visiting their ship after hearing their song on the sea yesterday.
I hope you don't think it impolite, but if you care to extend your invitation to others aboard ship, I would not say no to seeing what I could hear while I was aboard.
I shall extend the invitation to yourself and also Mr. McDougall, who I've taken under my wing. I think will one day make a fine ship's mate. This should be good experience dining with the crew, with the officers.
Yes, I hope to find it very educational.
Yes, and please keep those ears of yours open. I know that you can hear things I do not.
And he nods and turns away.
It's not that common on a merchant ship, but you could always make Joe your coxswain if you think that he's not going to capsize a boat or anything. The coxswain is a person who steers the boat during in normal operations. When you guys go hunt whales, you steer the boat, James. Until you make fast.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I think I shall. I think that is a good place for Mr. McDougall as he is learning our trades.
All right. So Bill comes to you, Joe and Forbes. Says, "Well, Mr. McDougall. Mr. Fife has decided to make you the captain's coxswain for the moment. And Mr. Forbes, for some strange reason, you are designated to be in the captain's boat crew. Now, mayhaps you have not noticed this, but the Jezebel seems to be a very proud and fancy ship. And I don't think anybody on board the Tethys would like to be outdone by that.
I assure you, Mr. Walker, I come educated from the finest New England stock. My manners are impeccable.
Do you know how to sew, Mr. Forbes?
It is with a modicum of embarrassment that I say yes. Why do you ask?
There's no need to be embarrassed aboard a ship, sir. Why, sailors are expected to stitch their own clothes since time immemorial. That's excellent, sir, for I've been fortunate enough to lay in some stocks just in case we were in such a situation. And he opens up a cloth bundle, and there's some nice linen that could be stitched into sailor's clothes, and some fine green ribbon. I was thinking perhaps this would make a good accoutrement for our caps.
And I pick up I run my hands over the linens, and I pick up the ribbon, and I say, yes, I do indeed think we could do something with this.
Excellent. I'm scared to speculate what that will be, but
we'll see.
Oh my god. Okay. So do we want to go to the dinner, or do we want to... I feel like there should be something in between then and that, but I'm not sure what.
We need a scene with Joe and Forbes, just the two of them.
That's what I keep pushing for. But
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was what you're pushing for.
Go, go, go.
That seagull was really rude and interrupted. So
Right? Yeah, yeah.
it's all good.
So I
Nah,
think that. Do you mind if I like suggest a
ahead.
framing? So I think this is probably like I'm in like I'm probably below deck and I'm like working magic with a needle, figuratively and literally, with that fabric and that ribbon, and I'm making some like like really nice looking stuff to kind of make everyone feel a little bit more fancy as we go aboard. And you can just like you're ostensibly there to help me, but I really just wanted to like not have someone else around because you're the only one I kind of trust with talking about other stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, I like probably am sewing things that don't need to be like precise. Because I think Joe can sew, but not. It doesn't. It like it either stays together or it looks good. Not one or not both.
So, and I kind of look over at your stitching and just like there's a look on my face, but I try to be like supportive and be like, oh, that looks very sturdy. And then I say, but then as I go back to my like needlework, I turn to you and I say, so Mr. McDougall, what brought you aboard this ship? I don't believe I've heard your story yet.
Well, I kind of brought myself aboard this ship without anyone else's knowledge.
Are you saying you stowed away like in the books?
I did. I didn't have any money for passage out of Kingsport, and I know this is really hard to believe, but I had no skills as a sailor. And this is pure sarcasm because I know that, like, yeah, I am new at this. And you're much more complimentary about my sewing than I've been about your rowing, and I actually am sorry about that. I don't have a whole lot of room to talk.
I mean, let's be honest, my rowing is abysmal. If I could book passage with my sewing, I think I'd be in a much better position.
Can you do that? Because that seems like a good idea.
I think the captain would sooner throw me overboard than if I tried to suggest such a thing.
I mean, just in general, not necessarily this ship. Like, I don't know. Yeah, sail making, right? Exactly. That's, that the sails are cloth.
I suppose I could do my own special little thing with the sails sometime. That's always an idea.
You're gonna put some of those hex marks, like your cousin, in the sails.
And I kind of like you see my face kind of like I like set the thing that I was sewing down, and like you see my face kind of go white, and I say, I don't do what my cousin does.
Somebody on board does.
My cousin shouldn't do what my cousin does.
Yeah, you won't hear me argue with that. Things have been weird on board, and I've never met your cousin, but I've heard that. Well, things have been weird since she came on and made all those marks everywhere. But you looked at some of them; they've been scratched out and replaced with others.
Yes, that's young Neb actually. It seems that I'm not the only one with a pedigree for arcane knowledge in this family.
Neb, huh? Okay. I suppose that's all right. He seems trustworthy.
Could I ask you something, Mr. McDougall? Is the
ahead.
sailing life everything you thought it would be? Are you happy to be here? Is it better than being back home in Kingsport?
Well, it's better than Kingsport only because I had angered the wrong people. But it's not where I want to be forever.
And he kind of just like sighs and like that's very obviously not the answer he wanted to hear. He wanted like a promise of like something better than either of those things. And he kind of just keeps sewing. It's just like, I'm going back to Kingsport. I'm going to get there somehow, some way. Maybe I'll make that work.
What's waiting in Kingsport for you?
My cousin.
The cousin you don't like.
Yes.
Sounds like an interesting story.
Turns out I'd really like one last word with her.
To get mail in Kingsport.
It's not the kind of message you want to put in a postcard.
Yeah. All right. And I'd like to just kind of go back to my very bad stitching. With like kind of a mental note to pay more attention to like anytime Forbes' cousin is mentioned.
Oh dear. Poor Phoebe. She was already driven half crazy by the marriage. Now this. Oh well. Oh well. Too bad she signed up to be an NPC in a PBTA game. Not a good move. Cool. So, do you have thoughts on the on what you stitched together there, Forbes, or do you want to look for some visual references?
So I would be totally open to suggestions of like what kind of adornments they are, but I think the thing that's very noticeable about all of them is that there's this kind of like eye design on all of them, like a needle pointed eye on each of them.
An eye?
Mm-hmm. Like an eye, like to see things, perhaps.
Oh boy. That won't come back to hurt anybody.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just a pleasure cruise after all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you really want to do it fancy, what people would do is they'd have long ribbons run around the brims of their straw hats, and often with the name of the boat stitched on them.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like I've put like a really, really kind of elaborate trim on all of them, like the kind of trim that should have taken me days, but because I used a little witchcraft, it only took me like a couple hours. And then like it's got, you know, the tethys on it in like a very scripty kind of font, but then like at the end of it, there's just like this like little applique of an eye. And everyone thinks it's just decorative, but we know better.
Oh dearie me. Oh dearie me. Cool. Okay. James, is there anything you need to do before we take the trip to the Jezebel? Okay, great. Cool. So you row over to the Jezebel in the evening. It's another beautiful Pacific sunset. Yeah, we're getting some serious golden hour time. The CGI guys are gonna have to work overtime on this. And you come aboard the Jezebel, which is indeed quite trim but ostentatious. Like a working merchant ship shouldn't be this decorated, but it is. Why don't you all give me one detail and choose from gaudy, rich, or spooky?
So I think one of the very decadent things about the ship is that there are like way more lanterns that are normal, and decorative lanterns, like fancy looking lanterns that would really not be realistic on a ship because, they tip and they sway and they there's sea foam and salt and wind, and they really shouldn't. They're not the kind of things that should be exposed to the elements, but they're very, very expensive looking.
And also implies they're burning their profits in whale oil.
There are kind of like Forbes's eyes hidden, in the decorations on our hats. There are hands hidden in decorations that if you look at it, you kind of start to see that's 4 fingers. That's a hand. But yeah, it's they're not obvious. There's no big hand painted anywhere. It's all very small. Just blends in until you start to see it, and then you start to see it everywhere.
Very nice. I like.
We actually noticed this before we get onto the ship itself, but the figurehead is very, very finely carved woman. And as we get closer and closer, we can see that she's painted pale white, and that the ship's bow actually extends out from her chest, as opposed to her being set underneath the bow as would be normal.
Is there anything unusual about the image that they chose, or?
She looks almost to those of us raised like myself in the Christian faith. She looks almost crucified. The way that she's posed with this spear coming out of her.
Okay, not creepy at all. So you come down and you're invited down into the great cabin. Well, at least you are, James. I think you brought Elizabeth because you were you kind of had a suspicion that they would bring a harpooner, so you brought her, and she's gonna have dinner in the wardroom with the other petty officers. And she's looking a little frightened as she goes down there, but nods curtly. When you get to the great cabin, Captain Dixon is there. He is wearing the most very elaborate suit for someone who's in the middle of a whaling voyage. It's it's ostentatious. It's not all that most sailor uniforms are designed to be quasi-military, and it's got that military look, but there's too much length, and there's too much brocade, and there's too much stitching, and he seems to be wearing a flowered silk waistcoat, and there's something just a little louche. He's got his hair pulled back in a long ponytail, and he's very happy to see you. He's like, James, I'm so sorry Captain Goodwin couldn't make it tonight.
She sends her wishes, bedridden for at least another day, says our surgeon. But the rest will do her good. I'm very happy to be aboard this beautiful ship. It's quite a feat. I've never seen a ship be decked like this.
Well, I'm of the philosophy, Mr. Fife, that ship should be more than just a sailing factory. It should be a sailing home, a sailing temple, if you will. At least, maybe not a sacred temple, but much the same way that the Capitol building in Washington is said to be a temple. I think a ship should be like that as well. May I get you a beverage? I like to enjoy something that I first drank in the South Sea Islands, if you would care for it.
That sounds delightful.
It's called kava.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure it will be refreshing.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, he gives you the kava. Have you ever had this before? I mean, I know you're the old sea dog. Have you made it to the Society Islands and places like that?
He probably hasn't had kava. Um, he's been in most of the oceans, but he hasn't been there yet. So I think this will be a new one for him.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it certainly makes you feel kind of calm. Let's just say that the next time you roll for see what's beyond, take +1. Cool. So while you're enjoying the kava and just sort of making some small talk about whales and the tonnage you're carrying and that sort of thing, you hear the Charities boat shout, Jezebel ahoy! And soon, not much later after that, the door opens and in bustles Emily, and in bustles the captain.
Wow, Captain, you're up.
Mr. Fife, I'm very pleased, yes, to see you.
Pleased to see that you've recovered.
Yes, sir. It was touch and go, but thanks be to God, I pulled through with the help of Emily.
Yes, from what Captain Goodwin tells me, your dear wife was quite upset at your ailment. I'm sure she stuck by your side every second.
Yes, I'm sure of it.
What is it that allowed your fever to break?
Well, I don't know that I rightly can say, but I gradually came unto my senses. But surely, the crisis may have passed, but I'm sure my recuperation will take some time. If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Fife, as you are currently pressed into a position of command, much like my poor Lawrence was, I would consider it a great favor if you would continue to cruise next to us for the time being.
We shall. We've been fine companions so far in this voyage. I see no reason for that to change.
Thank you. Young Liam is doing his best, but he's never first made it on a voyage like this before, and it'll do me good to know that there's a man as steady as you not far away.
I shall be there.
Excellent. Excellent. Cool. Why don't we take our... Oh, yeah, you want to do something?
I'm just going to turn to the captain at some point and say, I noted your when we were out yesterday, your harpooner and your rowers, they were singing quite a lovely song. I was not familiar with it. Perhaps you could tell me where your crew picked it up. It seemed to enliven their spirits.
Oh, well, you know how it is with sailors. They dearly love their chanties, and that was something we picked up somewhere in the South Seas. I'm sure we don't know the meaning of it.
And I pay attention to his body language and his face really closely when he says that to see if, maybe he was not being as truthful as...
Are you trying to read another's thoughts there, James?
I am. Let's see if we can keep our perfect streak of, almost perfect streak of 7 to 9s going. And this is brains. I got a 3.
Wow. A 3 just means that something happens.
something worse. We're gonna sink this ship tonight.
So while you're staring at him, suddenly the bells chime, and at that moment, maybe the kava just hit you very hard, but like all of a sudden you feel quite weak and unsteady, and it takes all your concentration to keep from trying to sit down, which naval etiquette prevents you from doing until the captain has sat down, and he is just taking his time chatting with Emily.
Oh no, I am. I will try to get some water and steady myself. I'm here by myself. I shall steady myself on the wall.
I think this rises to the acting under pressure.
Balance. At least I have a +2 on that.
Well, now that just couldn't be more perfect, could it? You don't get to the wall before the blackness closes in and you pitch face forward onto the deck. And with that,
Yikes!
And with that, I do think we should take our first break, or our break. So why don't I see you all back in about 5 minutes or so? Okie dokie. So let's pick up with Forbes and Joe. Joe, one of the oarsmen from the charity is your friend Chandra.
All right, cool. Somebody to talk to. That's good. I don't know. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask about their captain. Like, last I saw, he was at death's door, and now he looks to be, maybe not the healthiest person in the world, but he seems fine.
Yes, it's most remarkable. And he revived just as your own captain fell ill.
That's odd, but it's good to know that such an illness is, that one can recover from it.
Yes. Recover. Yes. Definitely recover.
Do you have suspicions?
Well, he seems I'm not sure. He seems himself. Very much himself.
But he's not.
Well, I don't. He, Can a person be too much themselves?
I've known many people who were too much themselves. But I might have an idea of what you mean.
I fear that whatever crisis might have passed may not be the end of everything. I don't know.
Out of character, who was the guy who they found dead who we also saw bitten in half?
Mr. Zacharias. Lawrence
Yes.
Zacharias, the
Yes.
former first mate.
I heard your first mate was less fortunate.
He cut his own throat, yes.
How does one do that?
With a razor.
I suppose so. It just seems an inefficient way to kill oneself when one is surrounded by water,
Well,
especially shark-filled water, as this seems to be.
are you saying that you would prefer to be eaten by a shark than to merely open a vein and slowly...
When you put it that way, maybe not.
Well,
I don't know.
Mr. Lawrence was a mite unusual. He was an excellent swimmer for a sailor. And yet, were I to think so, it is almost as if he was afraid of the water. But what sailor is not afraid of the water, right?
Sharks can swim faster than the fastest human swimmer. I can swim myself, and I am also not in a hurry to dive overboard.
That is not what I have heard about you, Mr. McDougal.
Well, only when absolutely necessary. Unfortunately, it's been necessary a few times.
Yes, your ship really must be more careful with who it allows to plunge into the depths beside it.
We have had some interesting luck.
Mostly bad, from what I hear.
Yeah, we've heard the same about your ship, and it's accurate about ours.
Well, our ship was never unlucky before this voyage. Makes you think.
It does. Well, I suppose we can watch the Jezebel, and if she's also unlucky, then we know it's just this part of the ocean, right?
And what if it is not unlucky?
The Jezebel?
Yes.
I don't know.
They seem a most fortunate ship.
They do. They seem to want everyone to know how fortunate they are. Which seems like tempting fate to me.
That's a different game.
Not the move.
So, Forbes, what are you up to?
I think that I'm kind of just trying to learn more about the crew of the Jezebel, actually. I think that's what I am out to do. It's like I see Joe talking with Chandra, and I decide that it's up to me to do reconnaissance. So
Cool. So sure. So you slip down below deck, but you come bumping straight into a rather red-cheeked, red-headed woman. Like, now what are you doing blocking the companionway like that? Do you not know your way around a ship?
I say, I'm so sorry. I don't actually. I'm rather new to this, you see.
My God, lad, you look as pale as my linens.
And I say, you must have some remarkably clean linens.
I do. What are you saying about my housekeeping, young buck of a lad?
It was a compliment.
Were we in County Mayo, I would educate you. A thing about my whitewashing.
And I say, I'm sorry. I don't believe we've had the pleasure. My name is Forbes Greenwood of the Tethys.
My name's Maggie, and I'm the cook here aboard the Jezebel. Come on, come with me. She just grabs your wrist with a very strong hand, pulls you into the galley, sits you down on a little stool, and pours you a cup of something Hodges. It's beef tea. Drink it up. It'll make you feel better.
And I look at it and I say, beef tea?
Hey, it's broth. It's broth. Drink it up. It'll give you back some strength.
And then I take a very like careful sip. Is it tasty?
I mean, it's broth. It's pretty salty because it's made at ship stores, but
Yeah.
I get some color in your cheeks, and then maybe I'll give you something that puts some color in your cheeks.
And then I say, I at the promise of booze, I'm like, okay, yes. And so I take a deeper swig of it, and I say, Miss Maggie, how long have you been aboard the Jezebel?
Oh, and haven't I been on her as long as she's been sailing, at least out of Boston?
And you let's see, and you've served under Mr. Dixon the entire time?
Aye, he's been a good captain. Keeps a good ship.
How do you feel about serving on the Jezebel? Is it a pleasant ship to be aboard?
Ah, I can't say that I know much about other ships, but the Jezebel seems a fine place to be. I'm certainly happy here. We always make a good profit.
And Forbes looks around and says, yes, it does seem a rather well-equipped ship. I say I do not wish to speak ill of my own position, but there are certainly certain luxuries here that the Tethys lacks.
Oh. Mr. Dixon does like a little bit of the ornament. It's true. It is true.
So how does he manage it all? It seems like such a hard thing to keep spick and span, and yet here it is, beautiful as the day.
Well, he knows the ways of the leviathans of the deeps, my dear boy. He always gets good hunting. And, 'tis a dangerous business. We always lose a lad or two.
Oh, that does sound like a tragedy.
Well, they knew what they signed up for, didn't they?
And I kind of like take another sip of my broth, but I say, what do you mean by the leviathans?
But the whales. It's just a manner of speaking, isn't it? I mean, what did you think I meant? The crocodile or whatever it were in the Book of Genesis?
Oh, no. I've just, maybe I've been around these seafaring folk, but I keep hearing such dreadful tales of something darker under the waters.
Well, there's many a great monster that the Lord has seen fit to populate the deeps with, about which we know not. Do you know aught about such monsters, Mr. Forbes?
Oh, it's purely a curiosity. I'm so sorry. I know that it's not becoming of a man of faith to talk about such such horrors, but I can't. I have to admit they intrigue me so.
And may I ask you, Mr. Forbes, what's a gentleman like yourself doing on board a ship? For there's nary a way that you've worked a day of your life in a field or behind a plow.
And then like Forbes like rubs his calloused hands and like blisters, and like he's just like, I'm bartering passage back home. You see, I was in South America looking for something, but I didn't find it, and I'm heading back home.
Oh, you're taking the long way around, ain't you?
Yes, it would seem. It's just you see, a lot of these people from the Tethys are from my hometown.
It strikes me that you're further away from your hometown now than you were when you started. But fear not, young master. Sooner or later, if you arrange all the way to the shores of Japan, you might be a little bit closer.
And then he like smiles, but like gets this like crestfallen look on his face, and just says, yes, I suppose I shall have to hear a great many stories to tide myself over until I get back.
She like reaches up onto a shelf and hands you this kind of jar that's caked with white stuff on the outside and has some label written in the script that's run and is illegible. She's like, put that on your hands before you go to bed. I used to give that to my son. He was a fine gentleman too, always reading.
And I thank her profusely, and I say, oh, and what has happened to your son? Is he also aboard?
Oh no, he works up at Dublin Castle now, doesn't he? Working for the British. It's fine gentleman. Fine gentleman.
And I think that. Let me check my moves list real quick. Cool. I think that what I'd like to do is, and I just say it's like, oh, I'm sure he has so many stories to tell, and then I want to try to, like, after having dropped that, like, try to read her thoughts. Let's see how this goes. And I'm using one of my +2 stats for once. Let's see if it helps. It did. It's an 8.
Huzzah! Okay, buddy, stop sitting on my move sheet. You may ask me one at any time during the course of your interaction.
So yeah, my question is, how can I get Maggie to tell me something creepy about the ship?
Well, now that you've recovered enough, if you would share a wee bit of a dram with her, she'd be more inclined to talk. If you gave her something to drink, she'd be very inclined to talk.
And how would I go about getting something to drink? Do I happen to, like, do they serve alcohol to us as well? Is that a thing?
Yeah, sailors do get a ration of rum. Do you have a flask, for example?
Yes, I'm sure that that is a thing that I do have, and maybe I pull it out and I kind of wave it, like sheepishly, and I'm just like, "You don't mind, do you? It helps to settle my nerves."
Well, what is it? Some sort of elderberry tonic or such?
Oh, it's just something of my cousin's creation. I've been holding on to it. But I'm sure I could spare a drop if you are interested.
I don't know. I don't have anything to do until the pudding is ready, so I wouldn't mind sharing a wee drop, yes.
Okay. I pour a generous serving into her glass.
Oh, here's to your health.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, young buck of me lad, that's pure kerosene there. I don't know how you keep that inside. Is that flask made out of metal or glass or some non-corrosive material?
It's an old family heirloom. It's been through a lot.
Oh. Now. Well then, let's have a fine gab, you and me, and we can share more of this remarkable substance that you call tonic, huh? A digestive tonic, eh?
Yes, it's a digestive for after meals. It's very soothing, as you can tell.
Hey, so you want something spooky?
And I think that I probably have baited her with I heard a rumor that the captain of the charity was speaking in tongues not too long ago.
Such things have been known to happen. When you're out on the waves like this, it's easy to lose your wits, you know? There's something about the great emptiness with nothing but the deep beneath you and nothing but God above you. It's much too much for some men, but well, not our captain. He's wise in the ways of settling this lake. I've heard tell that there are those who are hunters upon the land who have respect for the prey. Do you know of what I speak?
Yeah, yes, I've observed the practice before. Some people even say thanks to the animals who have offered up their lives to the hunt.
Well, the captain does the same thing. He says a blessing over the whale when he takes its life. Then they smear themselves with its blood sometimes. Odd symbols. Sometimes it gets on their clothes, and then of course it's my job to get them all speckling white again. For we must have the purest and snowy linens on board the Jezebel.
Yes, they are. They are indeed Snow White. But symbols. That's what kind of symbols could they possibly be scrawling in whale's blood?
I imagine that they were the Greek or something like that. I'm not a particularly lettered woman myself, you know.
Oh, of course, I didn't mean to pry. I kind of like cast a casual glance around. Is there any way I could find the laundry? I'm sure there's got to be a bloodstained shirt somewhere.
How do they do the? Yeah, I mean they do the laundry below decks. You know, they'll boil up kettles of water and just wash it when they have the fresh water to spare. Otherwise, you have to wash your clothes in seawater, which is bad because they don't really get clean. They just get salty. Yeah, you could maybe find that. You could also try and find the captain's wardrobe, but that's in the great cabin where everybody's having dinner. Or so you think.
I feel like I should probably make my way there anyway, because, I mean, the fact that Emily's on board means that I have to run into her.
Oh, dear God. Speaking of Emily, so James, you come to inside one of the small side cabins off the great cabin, and Emily is there with a cold cloth washing your forehead. Like, James, you've come too.
Whew. What happened to me?
Well, now, James, I'm far from a temperance woman, but I should think that a man in your position would know how to hold his alcohol a little bit better than that.
Must have been something in that kava, I think he called it.
Kava, that does not seem like a Christian sort of drink.
Nope. No. I am in your debt for caring for me. Did you miss your meal?
Oh no, they will hold it for us until you came to. At least they said they would. Though, you know, sailors, they work up quite the appetite.
Good to see your husband back.
Yes. It's remarkable to have him back like this. I did not realize how much. How is your captain?
She's much in the same way as your husband was.
Oh dear. Perhaps there's some brain fever going around.
Perhaps. Well, maybe it's just skipping captain to captain to captain. And
Well, then would you not be in danger now, James? You're the acting captain.
shh.
If you think it would help, I'd be happy to come over and act as nurse.
I do believe it would help greatly. Captain Goodwin would be most appreciative of your touch.
Well, I should be happy to come over. I will talk to Bradford and I shall probably return with you.
He shall have our gratitude for. So, shall we join them in dinner?
Yes, please come sit by me, and if I see you fading, I shall do what I can to revive you.
Thank you for that.
So you come back out, and everybody stands back up, and Malachi just kind of looks at you with that wry look in his eye, like, well, James, couldn't handle your kava, huh?
That was a mighty, mighty, mighty strong beverage. I think
Well,
I shall stick to. I think I shall stick to tea for the evening.
Tea. Well, I hadn't thought of you as a teetotaler.
Not a teetotaler, but I know when I have met my match in a bottle.
Well, I'm sure you shan't mind us sharing our claret.
No.
Well, yes, I should have warned you about the kava. It's a beverage that invites a sort of meditative frame of mind. Surely your mind was fixed on too many things, and when the mind fixes on sharp questions while imbibing it, sometimes you find it too much to bear. But I know you must have much on your mind, what with the illness of your poor captain.
Yes, and keeping my crew safe and happy.
Well, of course.
We, our voyage continues, whether the captain is ill or not. I do trust that she shall be back up tomorrow.
Well, we can only hope, can't we? But I'm sure you'll return to your profitable ways shortly.
I think we will. Have you had a profitable journey so far?
Always. The hunting is always good for the Jezebel.
Always the best of luck for you out on the sea?
Well, not always, but ships never failed to turn a profit yet.
Yes, you've put that profit to quite a use here, as I can see.
Oh, well, one does love the small comforts one can have.
As a Scot, I was raised too frugally to spend my money thus, but it's quite impressive to see it done.
Oh,
Well, I may not be able to bring myself to spend money thusly. What you've done here is a fine vessel.
Well, I suppose it's some circumstance of my upbringing. My father was a defrocked Roman priest, if you'll believe that.
A Roman priest?
Aye, and well, he met my mother and decided that some vows were no longer worth keeping. But we spent many a year in my youth was spent in Italy and then sometimes other places, Damascus. We spent a summer in Jerusalem, which is not nearly as exciting as it sounds. And then much time in Alexandria. I have more than once been inside the Great Pyramids.
That's a place I have yet to visit.
Well,
you must have learned much on these trips during your upbringing. Seen much, experienced much.
I learned a lot before I ever went to sea, and I found that knowledge has stood me in good use upon the sea. Strange, but normally a sailor has a contempt for a landsman's education, but I've found a few things in my journeys and travels that have helped me on occasion.
Well, if you're in the sharing mood, maybe some of that advice could find its way into my ears.
Oh, well. I should say most of the practical advice I gained was when I jumped ship as a young lad of 8 and 10. And I was in the Society Islands. Among the cannibals, as they like to say, though. If they were cannibals, they only ate them what needed the eating, I guess. I never saw anything like that. They were mostly gentle and wise people. I mean, sharp in their own ways, but they have their own way of fighting war. It's mostly a shouting match and an athletic contest. I must say, having seen my share of battles on land, I think it's a mite better occupation.
It does sound that way. How long were you on the islands?
Oh, couldn't have been more than 10, 16 months, something like that. Time passes differently. You get used. Seasons are either wet or dry. There's no snows or falls of leaves to remind a man that the year's turning.
Um, you spent so he was all that time. How did you leave the islands? How did you find your way off?
Well, a whaler will. Whalers like to call upon them for supplies and such. And one day, a Yankee whaler came in, and next thing I knew, I signed up as an able seaman, and within 5 years, I was earning a mate's share, and now I've been a captain these 5 years.
That's mighty lucky to have landed in those islands and not been eaten by the cannibals, and quite quickly after leaving, becoming a captain.
Well, as I say, I never saw them
Truly,
eat
you are blessed with something.
Well, my Irish mother would have said the gift of the gab, but she said that about a lot of people. What about you, James? You must have seen some amazing things in your days.
That's the moment where Forbes falls in. So this it's like a dinner party kind of thing, right? They're like around a table. Okay, yeah. And so like I think I open the door and like kind of like clumsily like fall in, and then look around as everyone looks at me, and I'm like, oh, and he's just like, you can tell he's looking for like an excuse because he wasn't expecting everybody to be in here.
Why, it's Mr. Forbes.
Yes, I was looking for Mr. Fife. Yes, I'm terribly sorry to interrupt.
Wait, Brad, Captain Houston looks at you like, Mr. Forbes, I believe we spoke. I seem to have a memory of it.
Captain Houston, it is so good to see you back upon your feet. Yes, I did visit, and I administered a sedative to help you sleep at one point. I hope that it helped.
Well, I must thank you for your leechcraft, and I'm sure Emily does too. I can't say for certain that's what brought me around, but perhaps it was.
Around you have been brought in, regardless, and such good news that is. I'm glad to see you back upon your feet, and it's a pleasure to see you again, Mrs. Houston.
She blushes like, please send my kindest regards to your captain.
Yes, of course. I do believe that she would be quite happy to see you.
I believe that you have a certain small intimacy with her, probably as consequence of your erudition.
Thank you. Yes, I try to make myself useful to the captain any way I can.
Well,
and then it's just like and then like I'm still like looking around to see is there any way that I could possibly like snoop through a closet in this particular situation, or like should I show myself out, or what is the proper like decorum here?
Well, now, what are you going to do about this, Mr. Fife?
I'm sorry, I got distracted by a coworker texted me. What happened exactly?
Well, Mr. Forbes has burst into the room and exchanged words with the Houstons in a way that seemed quite friendly, and Malachi is just meditatively looking over his wine at the two of you.
and I wasn't there. So his friendliness to the captain is odd to me. Let's see. Would Captain Malachi, would it be to your pleasure if Mr. Forbes joined our table?
Well, now, I don't recall him as being an officer on your ship, but
Tis not. But you see these fine hats that we wear. His
Oh.
handiwork.
what? Well, then I'm sure he's a mighty fine dressmaker. But he does strike me as a gentleman and perhaps an interesting man to talk to. What did you say your name was, young man?
Greenwood, sir. Forbes Greenwood of the Massachusetts Greenwoods. I matriculated at Miskatonic University.
Miskatonic. Yes, my father often talked about Miskatonic University. He longed to go there quite often, but never did. Well then, an educated gentleman, and yet you were nothing more than a common sailor? Interesting.
It is a unique situation, sir.
Wow. And you know something of medical skills?
Yes, it was a part of my course of study. You see, I'm very well familiar with cures for many ills, and I hope I did some small part in aiding Captain Houston.
Well, why don't you sit down then, Mr. Forbes? I'm afraid we've polished off most of the main course, but help yourself.
You are too kind. And then I kind of like sit like is there a space next to like Mr. Fife or something like that, or do I have to pull up a chair?
I think you can sit down next to Mr. Fife.
Kind of like slide in and like sit very tall in the chair and just kind of like, which is not helpful because I'm already very tall, and so I just kind of tower over most everybody, and I just look very uncomfortable. But I reach for like a roll or something and like put it on the plate in front of me.
You Tethesians are an interesting group of shipmates, I have to say, Mr. Fife. I saw that you brought your harpooner, eh?
Yes.
I trust that she is as comely a thrower of a harpoon as she is a young lady.
Yeah. I mean, she's struck the mark more than she's missed.
That's all one can ask for a boat steerer. What a fascinating little table we've made here. And then he calls for more wine. So, Joe, where are you up to?
I mean, lurking around, looking at stuff, listening in on conversations, pretty much the usual.
Stowaway stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you're investigating?
I think I'm looking for not necessarily symbols like the same kind of things that are carved all over our ship, but things like that are maybe a bit, I don't know, that seem to have some sort of symbolic meaning or anything like that. I'll just talk about like this is the lucky ship kind of arriving here. That's actually, I guess. No, I'll stick with the first thing.
Okay. So while you're lurking around, you see Walker Wolf come up, and he's got a big copper basin, and he walks up to the quarterdeck, which is unusual in of itself. Goes right to the back rail and dumps the basin into the water, and that is when you notice that it is in fact blood.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, so Walker Wolf, I remember the name. I do not remember who he was.
He is the hulking harpooner of the first harpooner on the Jezebel, and
Okay.
he seemed to recognize you, or you seemed to recognize him, but you weren't sure what the connection was.
Right. Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah, just a basin of blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Did he-
like you do.
Right. Did he come from a direction that like would have basins of blood? Like,
I just came up from below decks.
okay. Huh. I think I will sneak, down in the direction he came from. I probably didn't see exactly where, but a little closer.
Okay. All right, so you go down below deck. Most of the crew is out enjoying the evening, and of course some are standing watch. So there's only one person. You're as you come down and look around. There's one guy in his berth, and he does not look well.
Okay. Does not look well, as in like the same way our captain isn't, or like.
No, he just looks sick.
Okay. Huh. Do I see anything like, I don't know? Do I see any blood splattered everywhere?
No, you do not.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was hoping maybe some sloshed out of the basin or something I could follow. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just gonna like poke around because I'm looking for. I'm keeping an open mind on what's suspicious. Actually, like what I consider suspicious, but I'm looking for just odd things that. I mean, I've been on 2 ships. It's not like I would necessarily spot things that wouldn't be on a ship or shouldn't be, but I have a general idea of what should and shouldn't be on a ship.
You could take a lantern and go down into the hold.
That's what I'll do. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right, so you climb down into the hold among the stores and the enormous casks of whale oil. And there's one that looks like there's a cask that maybe whale oil. It looks like that size, but it looks like it's been opened recently and then resealed.
Huh. See, opened recently. Okay, fine. They're using it for lanterns, but resealed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you bang the lid back down.
Oh, okay. I mean, do I see anybody standing around?
No.
Cool. I'll open that lid.
Cool. Somebody filled a whale oil cask entirely with blood.
Okay. Cool. Good to know. Okay, so I need to do this in a way that is not going to leave blood splattered all over me, because that's going to be a dead giveaway. But I kind of want to like poke around it and see if there's like a body in it or anything. Like, is there I don't know, some.
You'd have to like grab a pole or something.
Yeah,
There's plenty of poles around. It's just going to get very bloody and sticky.
Yeah, but like that's slightly less suspicious than me being bloody and sticky.
Cool. So you're poking around in there when you hear somebody coming down the stairs into the hold.
Yeah, I believe I will try to hide.
Okay.
And like bring the pole with me so that like I don't know, at least put the bloody end away from where a lantern would shine.
That seems, despite the move name, that seems more like acting under pressure than single.
That's balanced, but that's still a 6.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So you're looking around for a place to go, and suddenly something whistles right next to your ear, and there's a harpoon sticking into one of the ribs of the ship.
Awesome.
And Walker Wolf is standing there like, It seems I ought to know you.
Don't know where from, but you
Hmm.
look familiar to me too. Do you throw harpoons at everyone you think you recognize?
Nah, just them that I think is, up to no good.
I am up to nothing. I'm just looking around, looking at seeing if there's a way that you do things on the ship that's better than on mine. And because you certainly seem to be more prosperous.
I do see that you're, trying to bluff your way out of the fact that you've been pulling around in a, cask of blood there.
I did wonder what that was, what the purpose of that was.
Now, you've told me, Joe, that you go by whatever gender people think you are when they see you, right?
Yep.
So Walker looks at you like, I did know someone like you once, but they were a lass.
I have many cousins.
Huh.
Some of them look a little like me.
He's narrowing his eyes, like not quite sure.
It's a large family. Where did you know this person?
We're in Glasgow.
I have several cousins in Glasgow.
Oh, maybe it was one of them. She's quite pretty, lass.
That doesn't sound like any of my cousins.
Be that as it may, you've been poking around in my ship. What am I to do about that?
I'm not stealing anything from your ship. As I said, I'm just curious.
Well, now,
You do differently.
that ain't entirely true. For you stealing secrets. Secrets important on board a ship like this.
Secrets on a ship like this. Why a ship like this as a
We're a lucky ship, ain't we?
You
Ain't
are.
never had no Jonah. Ain't never failed but to bring some money in.
I've heard that. I thought it was, a bit of an exaggeration.
Well, we have our ways.
Well, if they're secret, I won't pry then.
But you already pried.
Uh,
I have.
if I were to carry a cask of blood aboard my ship, would that make us a lucky ship?
Nah.
Then I haven't stolen any secrets.
But you might say something. That's not knowledge for most people. They could take it the wrong way.
What if if I were to say this, would they believe me?
How
It's a
trustworthy
strange
are you normally?
I'm known as a stowaway, so not very.
Stowaway? So you're saying people wouldn't miss you if you were to vanish?
Oh, I'm not anymore, but I was, and our captain was good enough to allow me to stay aboard as a sailor, but trustworthy is that's a stretch.
Well then. So you're telling me that you're capable of keeping a secret of 3?
I am more than capable of keeping a secret. I don't care why or that you have this barrel of blood. It's I am a little curious how you get it to keep because it doesn't smell bad, but that is probably a trade secret.
That's a secret, all right. I don't know if we could call it a trade. So it seems to me there's only one thing for it. You're gonna have to join the circle.
A circle.
Yeah. I think you best come with me, Joe.
Circle. All right. I'll follow him. Why not?
Cool. So back in the gray cabin, pudding is brought out by Maggie, who does a double take when she sees Forbes sitting there.
And I like give her like a very polite like nod, like, yes, thank you. I am well aware.
Like, well, no. Well, it's a fine pudding anyway. It'll serve more than one thought. And she's clearly calculating. Probably she was expecting to eat the leftovers. Like, somewhat crestfallen now. Cool. So what have you been trying to do in this uncomfortable little situation?
Well, I think that Forbes, being in a more like high society kind of setting, almost high society air quotes, is actually like a little more at ease now and is actually trying to cajole more information out of the captain of the Jezebel.
Cool. That seems like the way to do that is to roll to read someone's thoughts, and then we'll ask the questions as you talk.
Ooh, and that's an 11. No, it's a 13 with my brains.
So you will absolutely get to ask me 3 questions. So, so Dixon is clearly interested in fencing with you intellectually. He probably perked up when you said the name Greenwood. So there's some polite chit chat, and he's asking you where you've traveled to and sharing his own observations about any places that you've both been. Why don't you ask me one of those questions, and we'll see what we can do.
Yes. First thing is, I guess, what does this character intend to do? But like specifically, like, are there any ill intentions here, or should we be on our guard? Like,
you should definitely be on your guard. It's not so much that they have ill intentions, but they're clearly up to do stuff, and they probably are not going to care if you get in the way.
And then, how can I get this character to reveal something magical that I might be able to understand? Like, that would show me greater insight.
Well, Captain Dixon does tend to linger when he looks out over his glass at your eyes.
Oh my. Oh my. And then at this point, can I hold on to the last one?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And so I think at this point I'm like talking about very dedicatedly about like Greece and about my exploration of Greek lore and legends. Yeah. I'm a Greenwood.
Yes. Whatever game you play, there's still just turn someone on as one of your basic moves, huh?
Yep.
While you're talking, it's like, well, I do think that the evening is so pleasant that I wouldn't mind taking my brandy on the quarterdeck. Mr. Forbes, if you would care to join us, I'd be happy to extend permission this time.
I thank you for the honor, sir.
So, what are you doing, James?
I'm let's Let's see. I was listening, and then I'm really just trying to ingratiate myself to this captain to find out more about what I suspect is going on here, the weirdness with the song and stuff. So I'll probably wait till we go upstairs, though, and there's more of a private moment to trying to gain his trust and see if I can pick his brain.
Cool. So you get up on the quarterdeck and are looking out over the stern at the slow wake that the ship's trace. Even, you're not particularly setting much sail, but you have to keep a little way on. And over on the forecastle, as is their wont, on a merchant ship, the sailors are gathered to play music and dance and sing songs. And it's just strange, atonal music won't really be invented for another 60 years, but they're doing a pretty fair imitation. It's a nice tone row. It's, spiky in the middle. So that's just weird. Emily is kind of looking around like, what is that noise? And I guess you might have to join Forbes and the captain on the taffrail.
Yeah. It's a mighty interesting music.
Well, we have our experimenters on this crew. They wanted to bring a hurdy-gurdy, but I put my foot down about that.
You seem a most open-minded captain.
Well, and he just looks at Forbes. One must always keep try to fight one's prejudices about where you may end up. You have to keep an open mind about everything, James. You never know what might be useful or even enjoyable.
Just true. There are many experiences in life. You can never assume that those that you've had are the only good ones.
No, indeed, though I think I've done better than average in that regard.
You just see the color rising in Forbes' face as he continues to hastily sip his cocktail or his whiskey or whatever, or brandy. Yeah.
Any particularly fond memories you wish to share?
Why, James, you're so forward.
I'm a Scotsman, not an Englishman.
Just love to thrust your ideas forward into the conversation.
Yes, I can be very forceful when I thrust into the conversation.
Well, I do find that attractive in a individual. Well, obviously, my time spent on the South Sea Paradise is certainly Edenic. I had a very interesting time studying in Edinburgh, reading the works of some of the great masters. There's quite a lot of knowledge preserved up there, James. Your people do them a credit.
I grew up. My mother was very, very proud of where we came from. She was read me much Robbie Burns. I don't know if you were able to read his verse.
Oh, I found it quite entertaining, but I must say, my time spent in Heidelberg was perhaps the fondest recollections of my brief student life.
What did you learn there as a student?
Oh, a little bit of everything. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. They have very interesting versions of the Faust legend there. What about you, Mr. Forbes? Have you ever had the pleasure of visiting Germany?
Regrettably, no. I have not made my way very far, much further than Wales or Britain. I wish that I could have gone further, but as things were, I was plucked away.
Das tut mir leid. Well,
So it seems that you have made such a, you speak fondly of your times and as you call them Edenic, but it seems that you have quite a beautiful world that you've built here upon your ship.
well, I have to say, my particular favorites among the ancients were the Epicurean philosophers. It seems to me that one should live your life as if it were your last day, and that why deny yourself any pleasures?
I find myself rather inclined to agree, Captain. Although it still strikes me how you can lead such a lifestyle and yet have such a almost magical existence upon this ship. Pray tell, what is your secret? How do you manage such successes?
Hard work. You know what they say. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
I feel like I'm the one who's getting rolled to be turned on. I'm not used to being put in this situation. Yeah, so I think that Forbes, closes the distance discreetly, but it's just like, it seems that I could learn quite a bit about the world from you, Captain. If you would only extend to me your mentorship.
Well, it's difficult to say. We might be just two ships that passed in the night. He gives a little bit of a giggle.
Forbes gets this knowing smile upon his face and says, "Oh, I'm quite sure that there are many things that can be learned upon a single night, and as they were."
Cool. I think at this moment, Walker Wolf comes up from below decks, clutching his harpoon, which looks, quite small in his massive hand, and pulling Joe up. And he walks up to the, just below the quarterdeck, and it's like, "Captain Wood." And so Dixon excuses himself and goes to talk with Wolf. But that gives you and Mr. Fife a moment if you need to share it.
Yeah, I just kind of turn away from that, and I look mortified for so many reasons right now.
Oh, he is quite a lovely captain, don't you think?
That's not quite the word I would have chosen, but yes, he certainly has a way with words, doesn't he?
He's got the devil's tongue to him.
Yes, I'm sure he knows quite what to do with it too. I am quite worried for my present situation, but it seems that I might be able to find something out. He seems rather inclined to share things with me, things I might not want, but yes, some things I do want.
Well, take the good, you take the bad.
I expect to be getting a much better rate after this.
Your share for someone not of the crew is already a bit higher than you'd expect. So,
well, all things are meant to be renegotiated, aren't they?
Indeed. I'm
Now,
worried for our young McDougal there, Mr. McDougal.
Yes, that man is very large, and I wonder what kind of trouble he's gotten himself into this time.
Hopefully he's found us out some information on this ship without sacrificing himself too much.
Knowing Joe, it's not that easy, is it?
No, he has a special gift for getting himself into trouble.
Well, so hey folks, Kingsport, come for the Eldritch Abominations, stay for the double entendres and hot pillow talk. I really oughta. That should be that's just gonna have to be the title card soon. So Captain Dixon's leaning down and talking with Wolf and looks down at you and he's like, "Well, Joseph McDougal, That is your name, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Well, Joe, you've seen a few things, haven't you?
Few things, sir.
Things only the crew is supposed to see. And you're not of my crew, are you?
No.
Well then, I suppose you have a few choices here. You could jump ship and join my crew. Or if you find yourself too loyal to the others, well then, we'd have to ensure that your lips would stay sealed. Does that sound more to your liking? Because the third option is not nearly as enjoyable.
Where exactly am I on this ship?
So the quarterdeck is the elevated about the rear third of the ship. So you are standing right below that, and Dixon is just looking down at you, kind of leaning down.
Right. Okay. So, am I out of earshot of the other two?
Yes, if you talk quietly, yes.
Okay.
He's talking quietly, so.
Okay. No, I'm not going to talk quietly. Um, uh, I'm going to ask more questions about each of these options because, nobody takes an offer without asking questions about it. Yeah, what position would you have for me on your crew, and what would you require of me to guarantee that I wouldn't talk if I were? And I'm saying this as loudly as I can, like, reasonably say it. Like, I'm not screaming it, but I am not at all making an effort to not be heard.
I see. Well, Mr. Fife, do you hear this or no?
Oh, I definitely hear this.
Okay, what do you choose to do about that?
So we can see down on them from where we're standing, right?
Probably not that easy. You'd have to walk down there a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to head in that direction. And Mr. McDougal, is that you that I hear? Are you done eating?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
Mr. Fife, this is your man, isn't it?
You've taken him under my wing, teaching him all that he knows about the sea.
Well, he was out of place, sir.
What did you do, Joe?
Oh, I was merely admiring this ship and looking around at it, not meaning any harm.
That's too bad. I shall have to give you double duties for the next week. I brought you here to be on your best behavior, and you did not show this fine captain the stalwart men and women who sail on the Tethys. Captain,
Yes.
you have my apologies, and you have Captain Goodwin's sincere apologies. She would also be appalled.
Wow.
Yes, Captain. If there's anything that we can do to make it up to you, please just let us know.
Well, he was acting as one of my crew. Maybe I could borrow him for the night. Mr. Fife.
Which him are we referring to?
Mr. McDougal.
Mr. McDougal, do you want to be borrowed for the night, or?
I believe I have a great deal of work to do on the Tethys, sir.
That is true. You had promised to fix those sails, hadn't you?
Yes, and you just gave me double duty, sir.
Captain Goodwin was looking forward to you as our lead sailmaker. I'm afraid I can't spare Mr. McDougal.
Well, now, that does put us in a little bit of a spot, don't you think? I mean, he was where he was not supposed to be. He was in an off-limits part of the ship. And I do begin to wonder, Mr. Fife, if that was done with or without your knowledge.
You doubt? You doubt my honesty? You doubt my word?
Well, I'm asking you now directly as a gentleman. Did he disobey your orders by going to parts of my ship that are not to be shown to guests?
He did not disobey my orders, but he was not following my orders. There's a difference.
There is a very subtle one. You would make an excellent lawyer. Well then, certainly. Should I not discipline him as I would discipline one of my crew?
As a member of my crew, I feel that Captain Goodwin would want to discipline him.
Oh, just so you know, on my ship where he went, that would be at least 10 lashes. Is that the punishment you intend to inflict?
I shall consult with the captain, but that's a minimum punishment.
10 lashes. Well, then I would only ask one favor of you, James Fife.
What's that?
I just wish to be present when sentence is executed.
When Captain Goodwin's up, and if she agrees, then you can be present if she agrees.
If she agrees. So you're saying that
Captain Goodwin makes the final call. While I stand here in her stead, would she disagree with me? Were not my place to argue. I shall, of course, advocate for the strictest and harshest of punishments.
heard tell that the Tethys is not a flogging ship. Is that true?
Well, this is my first trip on the Tethys. Have not had a flogging, but the crew has been in hand.
Well,
got a good bosun, and as an experienced sailor and first mate, we run a good ship.
Well, I put it to you gently, sir, that perhaps they're not as well run as you think, given that your coxswain here just was running Mary Andrew all over my ship. Would you accept such a thing? Were one of my able sailors to run all aboard your ship, prying into things?
I would feel much as you feel. I would also trust the word of another honest first mate or captain, and allow them to punish their own crew as they see fit.
I'm beginning to feel like you're going to need to manipulate him to get away scot. Well, let me think about this.
Joe has decided that it's finally time to shut up and is just trying to looking as terrified as possible.
Okay, so Malachi turns to you, Forbes. Well, what do you think, Mr. Forbes? You're an educated gentleman. You were just telling me of Sparta. Certainly, the Spartans would have punished this in the most extreme manner possible.
And then I say, well, yes, that is true of one of those, one of the ancient cultures, but it's not reflective of every ancient culture. And then as I kind of launch into a very academic, defense of, well, not defense, but deconstruction of various different punitive punishments in different cultures, I'm also going to try to call others like me to see if I can change the focus.
That's a plan. I mean, it's not a good plan.
It's not a good plan. So that's with my beyond, and I don't have a beyond, so
that's why Phoebe was the witch.
It's a 7, so I made it. On a 7 or on a success, they come to help but choose one. They can only be seen by you. They manifest as a part of nature. They manifest as visions or dreams within the minds of those present, or they appear in a monstrous guise.
Go on.
Oh, I get to frame this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're your people.
Okay, awesome. So as I'm like talking like basically out my ass, the there's like the flapping of wings, and then our old friend, the black albatross, like alights on the banister right next to the captain. And we all just kind of stare at it for a moment, and then it hops down on the ground and it starts pecking around. And then it kind of like surges and like stands up into like a figure wearing all black. And like not a beautiful like feminine figure like the white albatross, but a gnarled and far too like stretched kind of humanoid figure with like black tears pouring out of its eyes. It's bird eyes, and like where its hands are, like some are fingers and some are claws, and it walks over to the captain and reaches out towards him.
He seems remarkably unperturbed, but he carefully puts his brandy down on the deck and says, "You know our agreement.
I don't even know what happens
I
now.
know."
Oh my god.
Penny nods curtly. Looks at you and says, "Well, now, Forbes, I had no idea that you were so interesting. Now, perhaps it would be best if no one else were to remember this. Do you think?"
Forbes has no idea what's happening. Oh my god. He looks at James and at Joe, and what are they doing?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Standing perfectly still and trying not to whimper.
I moved out of the way of this thing and giving a wide berth, but trying to remain as calm as possible. Of course, my hands though are just shaking as I hold them by my sides, which you know anybody who's sailed with us would be able to spot.
So I think that there's this kind of like shift where the kind of like nervousness that Forbes usually wears kind of falls away, and he kind of stands up even taller, and then he like wipes at his face where like a black tear had started to pour out of it, and he says, "I think that there's much more to discuss, and if that is the price I must pay, then perhaps they'll forget everything."
Well, I demand one other price. Seems to me that you called our friend, yes?
And he just kind of like there's this look of just like, I'm not going to answer that.
and I put into your keeping, Mr. McDougal. And if I hear that he has betrayed any secret he saw aboard this ship, well then, our friend here will hold that as an oath. Let me assure you, my dear, dear, handsome boy, our friend is very good at keeping oaths and punishing them when they are broken. Do those terms sound acceptable to you?
Should Mr. McDougal's sworn silence extend to even those who stand here with us? Do I not even get to know?
Oh, I think Mr. McDougal shall remember all. And that shall be the requirement of his silence, don't you think?
You see, sir, I find myself overcome by a most burning curiosity, and I close the gap to the captain again. And I'm taller than the captain, so there's this moment of like he's trying to hold the upper hand, but I'm still taller. And I say, I will accept your bargain on the condition of one addendum. I would like you to tell me a story. A true story this time.
A bedtime story?
If you must.
Let's just say that I'm asking.
It had better be one hell of a bedtime story.
I assure you, the opening festivities I think you will find most enjoyable.
So, you have stiff competition in that regard.
Well, we shall see in a contest of strength against strength. Very cool. So Mr. Fife, the evening's gone extremely well. You had a wonderful chat on board the quarterdeck, and right now you're being handed down into your whaleboat. Not really sure how the time has passed, but the time does seem to have passed. You seem to remember something bothering you, but you're not really sure what it is anymore. Joe, on the other hand, looks like he's quite stricken by something. Perhaps he ate something poor on the Jezebel. You're sure that the crew does not eat as well as their captain. And of course, Emily is being handed down into the ship. And I was like, well, I talked it over with Bradford, and he's most happy to allow me to come over and see what I can do for poor Charlotte. I mean, Captain Goodwin.
That is good to hear. He's a fine man, Mr. Bradford.
I do. I am glad for many reasons, but mostly because the Tethys is so much closer than the Charity, and I feel like there must be some damp fog rising, for I find myself with the strangest chill in my bones.
I've been feeling that chill for most of the evening.
Yeah, well, the food was excellent, though.
I shall shy away from that kava. And maybe that ship.
Well, they had such nice linen, though. And with that, you start to row away. Joe, just so you know, the black albatross is easily pacing your boat. Just sort of flapping along. Every now and then, it just sort of sits on the water, bobbing up and down, watching you row.
Just a bird now again.
Just a bird. And just a bird. Just watching you. Oh, and of course, Forbes was invited to stay over for a while and explain certain points on some ancient texts that the captain was like, you distinctly remember coming to that agreement. You don't remember why or what it was about, but you remember coming to that agreement quite distinctly.
It's a strange agreement, but I don't. I think I kind of look at the bird and I'm like, stay and watch over your friend Forbes, you know. But yeah,
The bird looks at you, cocks one eye, and you distinctly hear in your head, Forbes is no friend of mine.
well, I guess enemies can talk the same language too, as it turns out. Must have been mistaken. Well, in that case, I guess you could follow us. I mean,
I think one of the other oarsmen was like, why are you talking to that albatross?
just habit I must have picked up from Mr. Greenwood.
Now, just to be clear, Joe, you remember everything that happened on the quarterdeck.
Okay.
But Mr. Fife and Emily do not. As for Captain Houston, well, you'll have to ask Captain Houston. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. What do you guys do when you arrive back at the Tethies?
I think I'll take Emily to Captain Goodwin's quarters.
Well, fortunately, the captain is sleeping somewhat easier right now, but Emily just looks and she shakes her head, turns away from you, and she's like crying a little into her handkerchief. What is it that is striking these poor souls down?
In these waters, I fear.
Well, perhaps we should find better waters. Bradford's told me that in the offshore fishing grounds, where I guess we're on the edge of, that they are a strange part of the ocean where it seems that nothing lives except the whales that pass through there to stay out of the range of men and harpoons, I guess. There's no fish even. Have you ever heard of the Essex?
The Essex, you say?
Yes. The ship that was stove by a whale.
Oh, yes.
The crew, they were in these waters. They could catch no fish nor find anything to eat. And so in the end, of course, I suppose it's not right for a Christian lady like myself to know such things, but it's still a dark tale, they whisper in Nantucket among the wives. And
Well, you wouldn't want that on your husband or any sailor, really.
well, I
I
suppose
hope that is not a fate meant for the Tethies.
I should hope not. I suppose that they came home at all was a good thing, but what must a man be after that? Cool. So yeah, you have this nice little tete-a-tete about cannibalism. It's great. Joe, what do you do when you get back to the ship?
I go find Neb.
That's a good plan. Neb is idly sitting on the forecastle, kind of he's just banging a little drum, kind of just not even thinking about it. He looks up at you, is like, "Oh dear,
What's wrong?
what's wrong with you? What happened?"
Oh, it is a long and very confusing story. I actually need to ask you a favor. I want you to teach me everything you know about magic.
Well, do you want to know about the doing, or do you want to know how to be doing?
Wherever you'd like to start, you're the expert.
If it's how to be doing, there's certain promises that have to be made, not just to me.
Won't be the first promises I've made tonight.
Well then, all right. Meet me at midnight below the mainmast, and we'll talk more.
All right. Thanks.
Cool. And Forbes.
I'm just trying to think, does it make sense to, like, for this to be a lead-up scene, or does it make sense for it to be like an after scene?
I don't know. What do you want to get out of it?
So I think there's one thing that I really want out of this. So I think that we're like in like the captain's private quarters, and he's just closed the door, and I'm just kind of like, and I like turn around and I pull off the hat that I was wearing, and kind of start fidgeting with it again. And it almost seems like I've slipped back into like that like kind of like shy, nervous kind of like persona that I had before. And I'm just like, well, here we are, Captain.
Wow. There's much that we can do without talking, but you seem to have something on the tip of your tongue, Forbes Greenwood. Massachusetts Greenwoods. Of the Dunwich Greenwoods or the Innsmouth Greenwoods?
Is there really a difference in the long run?
Well, perhaps it's not right for me to say, but well, if you were of the Innsmouth Greenwoods, then I might expect to have to clean the sheets to get rid of the salty smell, you know.
Well, I don't particularly like your slander on my cousins. I will say that you won't have to worry about such things.
Oh, then that's good. That's good. I always prefer the witch side, anyway.
I think that like Forbes just kind of he like drops the hat, but the thing that like the camera catches that the captain doesn't is that like the ribbon with the embroidery and the eye on it falls to the side and under the bed. And then Forbes just starts like undoing his shirt and like steps forward as the camera goes black.
Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, so I threw a little game of Last of the Awful Sea, and monster arts broke out. That was just going to happen sooner or later, right? So that was cool. There's horrible things coming, I think. Hopefully next week we'll have our captain back, and we will learn some more terrible secrets and come to some kind of rousing and frightening conclusion. So yeah, cool. I'm gonna get the thing and drop it in the other place. And wow, that was fun, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
So, I guess I will see you all next week, and we'll see what horrors will come out of the deep this time. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.